All right, here we go. Welcome to Flyers Game Day. Brian Smith, Jason Myrtetus, Flyers, and Le Habitant tonight from an empty Bell Center in Montreal. I just forewarned real quick, everybody, since if you're watching this on video as well, I'm going to have to sneeze probably several times. This warm weather today
Yeah, I know.
has got my allergies in a total tizzy.
I hear you, and I so much going on today. Normally this is the kind of day you go outside, right? If you can, and try to clean up the leaves or whatever. Just killed me to be inside all day today, but
Yeah,
that's life, right?
it is beautiful out. I love winter and I love cold, but I don't mind a day like this time of year.
Right.
But it's like I didn't even have allergies as a kid, and now as an adult, I got everything. I got hair grown where I don't want it to, and I don't have it grown where I do want it to.
Yeah,
right here. It's like I get like.
Well, I mean, at least you could coach the Flyers.
Yeah,
That's a new requirement, I think.
Yeah, I could jump right on that bench and it'd be like, who's the other new bald guy?
Yeah, exactly.
But so yeah, my allergies are just crazy today. I'm just sneezing nonstop, and you may hear the dog barking a little bit today too. It's my son's birthday, so we have some family over. But I digress. Empty building tonight, Bri. It's kind of like roll the clock back a year day, and playing back in front of no fans because Montreal decided very late, mind you, to close the doors of the building to fans. I'm a little surprised at this move.
Yeah, I mean, none of us know really what we're talking about. I don't think, in the grand scheme of things, we read the same stuff on the internet as everybody else reads, within reason, hopefully. And you just hope that these decisions are being made for a specific reason. But it came down. God, I don't know. It was after 4:00. It was
about 4:30.
Yeah. The Quebec. Called the Canadiens and said, "Hey, we need you to shut the doors." My understanding is that people were already pulling into the parking lot at Bell Center. That's how late this was. There were people getting on trains to get to the building, and so they dropped this. Oh, I don't know when they. Again, with about 2 hours before game time, if that, and it just. Hang on one sec. Sorry about that. I got all sorts of sound sources here that are messing me up. I guess, again, they're talking just the statement we saw said something to the effect of partial crowds in the new year. We did see Ottawa yesterday in Ontario come down with a 50% mandate for those teams. And, again, not sure where that came from exactly, but I'm sure they had their reasons. But, right now it's just a little bit mind-boggling that 2 hours before the game, the doors are shut. I suppose it's a benefit that they at least let the game go on. But, you got to hope that this is a temporary thing and that this isn't going to spread across the league or anything like that.
It already is. But, players aren't sick. What are we doing?
No. I mean the shutting
doors. Oh, the doors. Yeah.
Yeah, don't let that spread across the. I mean, obviously the thing's going to spread, and the severity, doesn't, at least again, doesn't seem to be there. But again, none of us really know. We barely know what we're talking about. Talking about hockey, we don't know about viruses all that much. So again, unfortunate to see tonight, but it is what it is. So
see, at this point, Bri, like I'm of the mindset, what are we doing? I think these players that are infected, if they're asymptomatic, should be able to play. But that's a whole nother story. If this is going to happen right now, we're close enough to Christmas. Just pause the league until the Christmas freeze break goes over.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're not making up that much.
Right. Yeah. If you're thinking that this drastic, maybe that's the way to go. But I think a lot of folks kind of, we're hoping in the back of their mind that, thinking in the back of their mind that something like this was going to be possible, and not even, before even this Omicron thing showed up, you started seeing breakthrough cases in NHL players across the league, and that to me, that was anecdotal evidence enough to me to tell me that, that vaccine you got 6 months ago is worn off. You need to go get another shot. So
get the booster.
Took care of that. But it's coming out now. It seems that, you and me probably both did the same thing. Like, I was looking at the calendar trying to decide when to get my booster because I wanted to make sure that I didn't have anything going on the next day. And it sounds like there was a lot of that going around the league right now. A lot of guys were leaning toward waiting until the Christmas break next week to get this done.
Because they don't want to feel like crap and they got to play.
Yeah, right, exactly. And for me, the booster wasn't even that bad the next day.
I'm tired all the time, so I don't know the difference.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know, for sure that there's going to be a ton of issues with getting boosters into most of the league. Again, they were just trying to time it. I think now you'll probably see that, hurry up a little bit in terms of getting these guys done. They're not going to mandate it, but we'll see.
Apparently the good news about the booster is this, and we'll move on to hockey in a second.
Yeah.
So just indulge us for another second, is that it doesn't take like 10 to 14 days for the booster to go into effect. It's like 48 hours.
Right.
When you're considered, like when you got that second dose, it was like, okay, 10 days after the second dose, you're considered vaccinated because your body had to, whatever. I don't know whatever it does. But with the booster, apparently that's like 48 hours. So that's good news.
That's what I'm hearing too. And so, as we move forward here, there's going to be all sorts of things going into effect. I just saw on the way home tonight that the Rangers are now requiring at least one shot for children. 5 to 11 or something like that. We here in Philadelphia had the word come down from the city the other day that starting, I believe, in January, late January or February, sometime.
January 3rd, I think it is.
Or was that early? Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, that's going to be a requirement for people to come into Flyers, Sixers games, concerts, anything at the Wells Fargo Center that serves food. Is going to have to be proof of X. So, these requirements are going to continue to come down. You just hope that, like we said, that they're not as drastic as what the province of Quebec dropped on the Montreal Canadiens this afternoon, which seems a little heavy-handed to me. But, again, we're not on the front lines of this, so it is what it is.
Well, we're going to have a game tonight. That is the good news. And on the one hand, too, Bri, like I'm looking at this and I'm going, I don't want them to get postponed right now because you're at a spot in this schedule. Look, take the sickness and risk part out of this. This will sound insensitive in a way, but you don't want the Flyers to stop playing right now because they're starting to get their game in order against inferior opponents that you don't want to have the matchup against them pushed a couple months. And then the next game you have is Washington and Pittsburgh.
Exactly. Yeah. This has happened to this team quite a few times in the last 5-6 years where they've gotten on a roll and then they've had to stop playing. There were Olympic breaks. There were All-Star breaks. The 10-day CBA negotiated break that went into effect for teams around the All-Star game a couple of years ago. They'd be playing really well and they'd hit that and then lose the momentum coming back. And then, of course, in the 1920 season, that team was cooking headed into the middle of March there, and the rug got pulled out from under them. They did respond well, at least to start the bubble, and then kind of tailed off a little bit once they got into the Montreal series, really, which of course they did win, and they did take the Islanders to 7 games. But there's no question that in both of those series they had lost a little bit of the edge that they'd had in February and March. So, that is exactly right. That selfishly right now, you want this schedule to continue. The Christmas break is going to provide a natural break in the proceedings for the Flyers. They're going to have 4 days off?
More than that. Well, their last game's the 23rd. They pick it up the 29th. So
it's not till the 29th. Oh my goodness. Sorry, I didn't realize that. So, so it's.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, 29th.
So that's already there. So they already are going to have to hit a situation where, no matter how well they're playing here, as they finish out this string over the next 4 games, they're going to hit a 5-day break that, by the way, involves a cross-country flight to Seattle. So, it's already going to happen to them. So they can just get through these last 4 games and keep this momentum going. I mean, then, from there on out, whatever happens. But, right now, these immediate games ahead are the ones that they want to play.
Yeah, and tonight's against a team in Montreal that, no home ice, really not a whole lot of heck of a lot of home ice advantage here tonight.
Not anymore.
Disadvantage. It's one of the great. buildings to go. Yeah, the roster's crazy too.
Never heard of half of these guys.
Yeah,
Ones I
I
do
mean,
know are way past the prime.
we get pronunciations sent to us all day. Canadians through 30 games have 6 regulation wins. 6 wins. I mean, that's bananas, right? They've won
It is
4 games.
It is astonishing. I mean, this is when you get to the Stanley Cup final under any circumstances, whether it's the weird year of last year or, flash in the pan, whatever, and you get to the final, you're usually got something going for you guys that for your team that does not result in the bottom falling out the way it has in Montreal. I mean, it really is astonishing what's going on with the Canadiens right now. I obviously don't follow them closely enough to have my finger on what's going on, but that fall from grace was sudden,
Rapid.
for that team.
It's like being pushed out of an airplane.
Yeah, the only thing that I can even compare it to remotely off the top of my head was the Flyers in 06-07. If you recall, I mean, and that was building for a while. The Flyers were a little flat-footed coming out of the lockout. They didn't adjust the best to the new NHL rules, the clutching and grabbing going away, and now all of a sudden you can't just spend however much money you want to bring in whoever you want. And then, that really manifested. They made the playoffs in 05-06. That really manifested itself, though, immediately in the fall of 06 and resulted in the worst season in franchise history. That's the only thing that comes to mind when I'm looking at what happened to Montreal right now.
Yeah, it's it's bananas, but it's an opportunity tonight for the Flyers to really build what they did in Vegas to an extent and Arizona to an extent, but really what they did against the Devils, because they really played a good hockey game versus Devils. I know the Devils aren't a very good team and aren't playing well right now, but still, you can only play the teams that are in front of you in the standings, and the Flyers did an excellent job in that game on Tuesday.
And that was the thing that I liked about that win, was not so much that you wanted to go in there and get 2 points, obviously, but I think I was talking about it probably while you were coming back upstairs from doing the post-game interview. That is a situation where, that game was a decisive win. You could have come out and, after the tune-ups, if you will, against Vegas and Arizona, you could have come out and beat New Jersey as a little bit of a better team, 3-2, 2-1, 4-3, whatever, some really close game. But they came out against New Jersey and rocked the house. And that was why I liked that win so much for the Flyers, was that it was a definitive step forward, against the team's, number one goalie. Obviously, Mackenzie Blackwood didn't have the sharpest night. But it's an NHL team with their number one goalie, and they went out there and chased him from the game. So that to me was the kind of win that they wanted in that situation. Now, again, tonight, Saturday, teams that are maybe even a step back from the Devils, although all of a sudden Ottawa seems awful good. I don't know where that came from, but they have thrown some tire spikes in the paths of a few really good teams here in the last week. So they're going to have to deal with that. But, next week, Pittsburgh, Washington, obviously two much better, much more skilled teams that, they got to get through these next two and, keep the momentum going forward. And then they can use those games next week to say, okay, here's where we are going into Christmas. And, what are we going to be able to do coming out of it on the West Coast?
Yeah, and it's funny because one of the names that was mentioned maybe for a call-up was Wade Allison for this game. They opted not to call him up, and they're going to let him get some time with the Phantoms and get his game in order a little bit. But he looks like he's knocking on the door right now.
Yeah, I think he is.
That's a good thing.
It is. It's a great thing. And, again, way things are going right now, they may want to get him up here and get him into games, just from the standpoint of the Phantoms have had, I don't know how many games canceled lately. They were supposed to play last night. That game got canceled due to stuff with the other team, with Belleville at that point, not with the Phantoms. But, if they keep running into situations here where, they keep getting games postponed, it might behoove them to just get them up here and let them work things out here a little bit until they're sure that things are going to proceed down there the way that the schedule says it's going to proceed, which I guess
Probably,
right now nobody knows. But you don't want them sitting around for a week and a half waiting to play, and then have to call him up or try to have to get his game back after not playing a lot.
Is he activated now though?
Yes,
Is this okay? So it could be a contract and cap situation as well.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. The Flyers have. I haven't been paying close enough attention to whether or not Nate Thompson is on injured reserve.
Yeah, he's LTIR.
Yeah, they have cap space from injured reserve probably to bring up a guy. At the moment, that would be my guess. It would just be a guess. I haven't really been looking, but he has been playing. Down in the American League the last week or so.
Yeah.
So that has been, a good sign, and that's kind of why he's been, knocking on the door, ready to come up. He has played in 2 games at some point.
Okay.
I'm not sure which 2 games. The site I'm on doesn't.
Well, he could be a sight for sore eyes. Good forechecker, good skater, physical body, good shooter off the flank.
That's exactly you took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah.
Yep.
Chuck had talked about that a few weeks back.
Yep.
Needing that in the lineup, and he provides that. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm ready to see him. I know a lot of people are as well. The other part of the equation tonight in this game against the Canadiens, it's going to be Carter Hart again. And he has looked really good, really sharp. We're going to join our radio audience in a couple minutes, but he's looked really sharp for the Flyers. And, getting your game in order is easier when the part of your game that's not struggling is goaltending.
Right.
That can help you. That can buy you some time and buy you a little latitude. And he's been providing that.
Yeah, exactly. He's been, and that's what was getting the Flyers through the 8 games before their 10-game winless streak. They weren't scoring then either, but the goaltending and the defense were picking you up. And it wasn't until the goaltending and defense started to falter a little bit that things kind of slid out from underneath them. So that is, that is coming back. That's come back with everything else, and that's definitely a good sign. You're going to need goaltending whether your team is playing well or not, to be honest. That's the one thing that if your team's playing well and you have bad goaltending, that can erase what your team is doing very quickly.
Yeah, it's the ultimate equalizer.
Yeah,
if your team's not performing well, you can still win a game. It's why it's the most important position in sports, frankly. So he's been really good. Also tonight, Claude Giroux is going to try and become the second all-time leader in points for the Philadelphia Flyers and surpass Bill Barber. Talk about another. I mean, you go to ahead of Clark for number 1 all-time in power play points last week, and this week you're going to move ahead of Billy Barber perhaps as the second all-time in points. Crazy.
Yeah, it's rare air, that's for sure. Billy's been in that spot since 1984. That's how long it's been. Since that's how long it's been. It's been obviously longer than Claude, almost longer than Claude's been alive. So it's a record that stood for a very, very long time. The way things are going right now in the NHL, there's not a lot of players that stay with one team long enough to do that sort of thing. Although Claude's going to have Sean Couturier more or less right behind him with the new contract he just signed. But it is obviously a testament to his individual career. It's just a matter right now of the Flyers finding a way to rally a team around him and get him back into a championship contending team, at least one that can get in the playoffs and do some damage. I mean, winning the Stanley Cup is half luck. It just is. And just getting yourself in the position to take advantage of that luck is what the Flyers need to do. And hopefully they can do it, with Claude Giroux as part of the puzzle and not have to let him go somewhere else in order to chase a championship.
By the way, the Canadiens have lost 13 of their last 15 games. They haven't won 2 straight games all year.
That's not gonna sit well with the fans in that province. I can tell you that much. My goodness.
Yeah, I love the line about the Canadiens. It's the only place where they tell you suck in 2 languages.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. In case you didn't understand the one,
Yeah.
Go with the other.
Join our radio audience here.
I went to Montreal once and got mistaken for a player. Asked for autographs.
Yes, welcome to Flyers Game Day. We welcome in the radio audience as the Philadelphia Flyers will play against the Montreal Canadiens in an empty Bell Center tonight as the province of Quebec decided that they're going to shut the doors to fans with the pandemic. And the Flyers, though, still will play this game tonight. And still, Bri, it's an opportunity to accomplish the two things I've been talking about all week on Flyers Daily and talked about a little bit on Tuesday in light of that Devils game, was grab 2 points, the non-negotiable part, and get their game further dialed back in.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen a great run here for this team in the last week and a half. They got, the game against Colorado was kind of like, I don't know, starting your lawnmower in the spring. It's hard to get the engine going a little bit. But they got 5 goals in that game at the expense of a little bit of defense on a very tumultuous day when they fired their head coach. So that was a sign of, okay, that's good. And then, the next night against New Jersey, 4-0 shutout. But that was probably just a typical game that, in a situation like that is going to come up and hit and bite you in the schedule every now and then. Since then, they've gone to Vegas, big win there, in a very hard place to play. A very decisive win in Arizona, and then coming back tonight, coming back against New Jersey, an even more decisive win against the Devils at home. So, there's definitely a trend up here, and we are very, excited to see where this goes here now over the next couple of nights. You got 2 teams that you should beat under any circumstances, and an opportunity to continue, like you said, fine-tuning your game and getting ready for the last 2 games before Christmas, Washington and Pittsburgh. That can be a bit of a measuring stick for them, see where they at headed into the Christmas holiday, and then after a nice 6-day break, out to the West Coast and see what they can't do, on this West Coast trip. So we hope it all happens. We know everything is crazy right now with COVID and the way things are developing around the league. At very last minute, this decision tonight to close the Bell Center. But all the Flyers can do, I think Mike Yeo said it best, just put their heads down, take all the precautions that the league mandates and prescribes that you take those precautions. But other than that, put your head down, get to work, and keep climbing back out of this thing.
Well, to use your lawnmower metaphor a little further, they went out to Vegas. They sent one of the trainers, Harry. They sent him to the drugstore to get a little primer to shoot into the motor there, right? Yeah, a little ether primer. Throw that in there. That'll get her going. And then put a little more in there before that Devils game, and it worked out good.
Keep going.
There's one thing that Mike Yeo said after the game on Tuesday night that I really liked. He said, tomorrow, we're going to reiterate with the players that the reason they got the result that they got in that game, the 6-1 win, was because of the work that they put in, and that they need to continue to put that work in, because if they think things are fixed, you'll step back again. And to reiterate that it takes that work to get that result. It may be coach speak. I don't know, but I'm a sucker for some coach speak. I liked it a lot. I got to tell you.
In my opinion, in which whatever my opinion is worth, I think complacency is a death knell for any team, whether it's a good team or a bad team. Complacency is not going to get you anywhere. And I don't know that complacency is the word that you would use for the Tampa Bay Lightning a few years back, but definitely after kind of cruise controlling through to a 60-win season, and then they get into the playoffs and they get Columbus and they get punched on the nose once and they don't know what to do. That sort of thing can crop up when you get a little bit, like you said, take your foot off the gas a little bit. We've seen it happen all the time within games. I mean, teams roll out and, they blow the doors off the first couple of periods, and then they just, we're going to cruise in the third, and then they lose a 4-goal lead or something like that, So complacency is the enemy of any hockey teams, and that's what Mike Yeo is getting at. You got to keep your head down, you got to keep the focus on, you got to keep the work coming, and good things will come. Right.
You can control your preparedness. You can control how you sleep and take care of your body and the effort that you give. And those things are all things you control. There's enough in this game that you can't control. So control the controllable. And I just love that he said that, because I think it's really important. And what I think it does for players too, amidst the coaching change that just happened about a week and a half ago, is it reinforces positive instead of reinforcing or harping on negative.
Right. Yeah. And it gives you, it just gives you something to build off of, something to look forward to. I mean, when you're coming out every night and you go for 5 minutes, you're playing well, and then a goal gets scored against you, and everything comes out of the wind comes out of your sails. That doesn't get you anywhere. So just building blocks, and I think we've seen it on a team level, and we've seen it on an individual level, most notably with Carter Hart. He was playing very, very well, and then the more games you lose, the more your words start to echo in your head, and you start doubting yourself, and then he got that swagger back, and that's what's carried the team out of this.
Well, here's the good news. While the building is shut off to fans in Montreal, the Bell Center, they didn't shut it off to Tim Saunders and Steve Coates. They are in the house. They will bring you the countdown. You like that? You bring you the countdown to face off and all the first period action. So stay tuned. It's Flyers Canadiens. You've been listening to Flyers Game Day on the BetRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network. Enjoy your hockey, everybody. That was a little hammy.
Cam Atkinson, right?
They didn't have enough. They didn't have enough time to not let Tim and Coatsy in.
Exactly.
They were already in the building before they made the government made the call.
I just hope they can get out.
Yes. All right, everybody, enjoy the game. We'll talk to you post game.
All right, folks. We'll see you.